Welcome to Love Your Coaching. I'm Charlie, and today we're going to talk about the difference between coaching and training. We might talk a little bit about the similarity as well. Why do we want to talk about this? Because often those two things get a little bit conflated, and often the language is used almost interchangeably. And so I'm a bit of a purist about coaching, so I want to be able to be really clear and really define the terms so we know and we understand. I notice when I say to people that I'm a coach, sometimes people will say things like, "Oh, you train the trainer." And I never know why people say that, but it's often enough for me to think there's probably something in here. There's probably a bit of misunderstanding, a little bit of confusing. Um, Partly also, I think it's useful to talk about this because often people do blend and they do mix coaching and training, and sometimes those things are offered in an interchangeable way, as well as the language used interchangeably. So let's talk about the differences. We know from earlier videos, or if you're already a coach, we know what coaching is. We've defined it well. And I think we've defined mentoring as well. So we don't need to go back and we don't need to do that. Let's define training a little bit. And training is a word that's used in quite a broad brush, isn't it? It's used on a fitness, on a sports front. I think it's also used in a classroom approach, a course trainer. Sometimes we use the word tutor or facilitator. These, again, they can be all a little bit interchangeable. But the idea, the principal role of the trainer is to impart knowledge and skills and help the participant get better at those things. Sometimes behavior as well. I'm less of a fan of that. I'm not a fan of the behavioral change stuff. I'm not convinced that that works in a training environment. But the idea is that the trainer is helping you learn how to do something or learn how to do something better. So, as an example, let's say you go on a I don't know, you go on a leadership program. And what they do is that they look beyond leadership behaviors and they talk about leadership skills and maybe identify three core skills for a leader to learn. Let's say presenting with impact, handling challenging conversations, writing a vision statement. Those are all teachable things, aren't they? They're all things that people can sit down, work in groups, discuss, get feedback on, develop some skills, develop some approaches. So that's what a trainer does. They are transferring information. They might be transferring from their own experience. They might have a good understanding. They might have gone down these roads. In our work, we teach coaching, and I see our role there is as trainers. We are teaching people how to do something or how to do something better than they already know. So that's the first thing. I think that coaches don't do that. Coaches don't teach. Coaches don't bring their knowledge, their skills, their resources, their information, and they don't bring them and give them to their coachees in the way a trainer does to their course participants. The second thing that trainers do that coaches don't do is that they are in a process of assessment and evaluation and feedback. Now, we all know this. We've all sat in a classroom as children or maybe as adults being taught something, and we know that our teacher, the trainer, is working out the levels. Where are they at? Where do they need to go? What are they good at? What do they need to get better at? And they get involved in giving us feedback. Oh, you're doing that well. You need to improve on that. If you just did this that way, that would get better. Feedback, evaluation, assessment of the people we're working with is important, really important in training, really adds value and helps people grow and develop to the next level. As coaches, we're not doing any of that. We're not assessing, we're not evaluating, and we're definitely not giving feedback. Maybe what we are doing that might be a bit aligned with this, maybe what we're doing is we are assessing enough what's going on, what's happening in the coaching room, what's our coachee thinking, so that we can then ask a good question or invite them to think about a certain thing. But we're definitely not assessing in order to evaluate or give feedback. In fact, I remember a few years ago there was a book about coaching that I really liked. It was a great book, and there were many great and helpful practical chapters. But there was a whole chapter all around coaches giving feedback. And I understand why the author wrote this, because they were talking about like the manager as coach, the manager using coaching skills in their day-to-day work with their reports. But somehow just talking about feedback being part of coaching made me want to take it off our reading list, which is what happened. It's a shame. It's a shame because I think the principles were good there. So that's the second point, isn't it? That there's evaluation and there's feedback. And all of this probably sits under an umbrella of and not a partnership of equals. Even if the trainer or the facilitator does their very best to be able to create an adult to adult environment and be very kind and being very friendly and supportive and non-judgmental, somehow they're the expert here, right? Somehow there's that sense of they're the person who marks us, who evaluates us, who assesses what we're doing and what we need to do better. So that does change the hierarchy, and that does make it a slightly power-based type of relationship. And often it's fine, isn't it? I have lots of teachers in various aspects of my life, and I'm quite happy that they're the expert, and I'm quite happy to be the student in that environment. But it is different from coaching. So I've named 3 differences between training and coaching. I'm going to share probably that area of similarity, because there can be some similarity. The first thing is that trainers, depending on the topic and the subject that they train on, can create a reflective environment in the same way as coaches do. They can ask questions, they can encourage thinking, they can get people to work out their own answers. They often do that in a group environment, but they can do that on an individual basis. And there can be goals set by the participants. So even if we've signed up for a course to learn Italian, or we've chosen to learn advanced Excel, or nowadays AI probably, that we can still have personal goals. We want to achieve X, we want to learn Y, we want to get to Z level. So similarly to coaching, we can have some goals set by ourselves as participants. And the trainers might use coaching approaches. They might use strong questions. They might use silence. They might be brief. They might listen in and hear and pick up. So these are all coaching skills that are also really handy for trainers. So I've mapped out some similarities. I've mapped out some differences. Just the headlines, really. Maybe you pick up your own. Maybe you see different things, and it'd be really interesting to hear. It definitely would. What I observe is that we don't have to make a choice. We can be really good coaches, and we can be really good trainers, and we might do them at a parallel time. Lots of people that I work with, our team, in fact, is full of education people. We have 3 former head teachers, 1 assistant head teacher. They are great coaches. They're really good teachers of coaching, and they are good teachers or trainers in the classrooms that they've worked in over many years. So I don't think that there's an incongruence. I don't think that you have to choose to be one or the other. I think you need to know what you're doing on any given day, and the people you work with need to know, is this a coaching course? Is this a training course? That's really important. But knowing that we can learn those 2 things together, I think is a great advantage. I'm sure that my teaching, my training has become vastly improved because I'm a coach as well. And also I think that because I'm a teacher, a trainer, when I'm coaching, I'm not itching to be sharing loads of content, be telling people loads of stuff, because I get that itch scratched when I'm doing my teaching. So we can do those 2 things side by side. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this is useful. And I really hope that someone in this next week or so says, tell me, what is the difference between coaching and training? And then you'll be super ready to answer that question. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Otherwise, you'll have to introduce it around the dinner table to provoke someone to ask it of you. Share your thoughts, share your ideas. It'd be lovely to hear, lovely to know. And as my people tell me to do, can I please invite you to subscribe to this channel? It would certainly help more people find the Love Your Coaching channel. Have a good day, everyone. Happy coaching.